It's a bit overwhelming. It's a lot overwhelming because there's so many people here, and they're having such a good time, such a good atmosphere, and this area is really inclusive. But like, we don't often do things like this, and to see people turning out in this way, they don't have to be here, but they have dressed up. They want to be here. It's really, it's a lot. It's great.
Organising a Pride March is huge admin, but a brilliant thing to do. But how do you do that?
Well, so that was like loads of people helping out in different ways, and there was another fake person actually involved in that, who didn't make it into the show, sadly. But I knew that there was going to be so much to do, and I couldn't do it on my own in some sort of balaclava or whatever. I needed a team that I could trust. And I'd just done a music video with Katie J. Pearson, who I love, and she had this brilliant team, the props team, called Clump. And I spoke to them and I said, this is top secret, but I'm running a Pride March, but nobody knows that I'm anything to do with it and all of this. And they were so up for it. And they created this person called Sally Jenkins. And so Sally Jenkins was emailing and speaking to people. They got a burner, they did the whole thing. And Sally Jenkins' little quirk, which I loved, is at the start of every email, she'd say, if she was emailing you, she'd go, hi, Greg, it's Sally Jenkins. And then whatever she was saying. But you could be in a long run of emails, and at the start of every email, she'd go, hi, Greg, it's Sally Jenkins. So that they were really brilliant. There's a team of about, I don't know, about half a dozen of them that helped out. Then Adam Regan, who runs the Hare and Hounds pub, he was amazing at kind of coordinating the whole thing and very trusting of Cam. Then there was Fat Butcher, who brought loads of brilliant drag queens and performers in. So I kind of sort of felt like a bit of a puppet master from the sides. And it was weird, on the day, I kind of had nothing to do because I'd kind of set everyone up to go and do their thing. So for the morning of that Pride March, I was so nervous, and then turned up in that head, arrive at the march, and all I can see is a sort of letterbox, and I was thinking, oh my God, there's so many people here. It was such a like, whoa.
Well, talk us through that moment. The moment, I guess, was that the first moment you thought, oh, it's landed, it's worked?
Yes, I suppose that was like the moment where you go, fuck, this is actually a real thing that's happened now. There was a moment really early on, before it ended up in the Birmingham Mail, I decided that it wasn't going to be believable if it was just in the Birmingham Mail. Like, if we just sent a press release to the Birmingham Mail, they'd go, so what? This is made up, obviously. It needed to have some believability elsewhere. So a press release was sent to the Edinburgh Evening News to say that Broughton Street was one of the gayborhoods. And they ran an article. So when that first article came out, that was the moment where I thought, there's at least interest in this as an idea and as a concept. And then, without sending a press release to them or anything, it ended up in an Ibiza newspaper, because somewhere in Ibiza's also on the list. So they were promoting that they were an official gayborhood on this made-up website that I'd done. And so suddenly I was like, this thing's gonna roll on. You know, but it was turning up at that Pride, just seeing through that little slit in the head of all the people that were there. And I was quite nervous because I wasn't sure how recognisable my eyes were, and people were coming up and sort of smiling or whatever, and I was thinking, are you clocking that it's me? Nobody clocked, as far as I'm aware. Nobody said anything. And this year there were some lovely little additions, like we had the barbers opened up the back of the barber shop, and they turned it into this sort of sex dungeon and called it the abattoir, and they just played ABBA tracks in there, and so that was a sort of adults.
Happy to DJ there.
Play at the abattoir.
I can DJ.
There we go.
I'll play it.
We've got your job.
A lane closure at the abattoir.
A lane closure at the abattoir. Perfect. The problem is like something like this, I've essentially given myself loads of admin, because every year I've got to organise a fucking Pride March. So if I do another show that involves something like that, I've given myself yearly, like admin for life.
Absolutely.
Nightmare.
Mischief seems to be a starting point for you often with stuff, and you smelt mischief, I guess, with this.
Yeah. Well, what was going on as well in the local areas were these protests, which I talk about in the show. There was sort of anti-LGBT protests, and that was making me cross as well, I suppose. And I wanted to prod at that, and I was annoyed about the messaging of that and how it was being used to attack all sorts of different groups, really. And it was a small group of people who were annoyed about something that they didn't even really, at least the way they were articulating it, they didn't really know what they were angry about, because the books that they were cross about weren't actually doing what they thought or were saying they were doing.
So where do you start with it? What was your first move? Because this was 4 years and a bit, maybe a year ago, and you thought, I'm going to plant some things here. What was the first move?
So there was so many ideas that we kind of got halfway with, so the first thing I did, and I thought people will get talking about this, is I got some vinyl pride flags pressed into the high street in Kings Heath.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to find someone that would do it. I wasn't doing it as me, I was doing it as Ken Roberts. So I was ringing companies in the UK, asking them if they'll press pride flags into the ground. He would ring round these vinyl companies, and most of them said, oh, that's illegal, you can't do that, you'd have to get council permission. And then this one dude was like, yeah, I'll do that, I'll just do it in the middle of the night. So in the middle of the night, these vinyls turned up, and I thought, oh, well, everyone will be tweeting about this. What does this mean? It's some exciting thing that's going on. Nothing.
Right.
Nobody tweeted. The council pulled them off after 2 weeks. There was just this sort of hole where it had been. Nothing. So then I was like, shit, I need to think of some more ideas. And some of the ideas that I didn't do, so silly. I was going to put loads of posters up of missing pets, but the pets had names of like gay icons. So like a little pooch called Cher or whatever's gone missing. Or I was looking for planning permission. There was this plot of land that was for sale in Kings Heath, and I thought, I'll buy that and I'll put a big shrine and a big cock and bollocks on there, basically. And then I was talked down off that ledge. I was going to, and we had a call in with Gok Wan. Forgot about this. Gok Wan was going to come. I wanted to get gay celebs to come to the local area and just do some house viewings. And I was going to pay a pap to shoot them long lens to then give to the Birmingham Mail so that they would run articles saying, Gok Wan spotted looking at houses in Kings Heath. And then I realised that the Birmingham Mail will never run that. Like, that's not an article. But I was sort of working out what budget, how much would I pay Gok Wan?
How much would you pay him?
I don't know.
What do you offer him if he was here now?
50 quid?
Gok?
Gok? Is he in the shed? Is that the twist of this?
It's my own
It'd be nice to have Gok in Queens Heath.
It's my own long con. 4 years it's taken me to book Gok.
I'd love that.
Good afternoon, this is Compression.
Hello there. I would like to get a quote for some flyers, please. I was looking for some sort of bunting to put up in the area. A big inflatable something that's kind of gay. I don't know.
We can take an order on over the phone. It just depends how many you want and when you want them for.
Could I get a quote for 1,000 sausage rolls?
Sorry, we're in the UK.
Yes, sorry, I'm from America, but it's for an event in Birmingham.
Yeah, if you wanted it floating with helium up in the air, we could do that.
A floating penis. That sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Okay.
Rainbow coloured if you wanted, so anything you want really.
A rainbow floating penis. Great.
Some people just sort of needed to know about it because, like, when I was Ken. It sounds so mad. When I was this American man that doesn't exist, when I running a company that doesn't exist.
Too natural.
Yeah.
When I was Ken.
When I was Ken, I'd have to go and do phone calls. I was doing Got Your Back, my Channel 4 show, and I was in makeup, and Ken's burner phone rang, and it was when I was doing the vinyls, and I had to go and answer it, and I had to like slip into the dressing room, and they were like, oh, we're on in 3 minutes or whatever, and I was in the dressing room, and they were outside, they were like runners outside waiting for me, and I was going, yeah, so you're just going to press it into the ground, and like, they must what's he doing? He's gone mad.
You quite like Ken though, don't you? You must love him a bit.
In a way, yeah. I found it stressful being him.
Yeah.
Because at every point I thought someone's just going to go, this is a silly accent, this is not a real person. And and having that burner phone, lots of people asking me, why have you got 2 phones? And
what was the answer?
I'd always just joke that it was my drug dealing phone, and then nobody really asked after that. They sort of just thought, oh, that's just Joe being silly. But all of the kind of juggling whose WhatsApp you're running and all that, it was just a lot, really.
Have you always been good at admin? Because I feel like you've put a lot on yourself, haven't you? Because it's a lot of admin to keep up the pretense.
It is a lot of admin.
Did you find that sort of, you got snowed under a bit sometimes?
Yeah, I did, and I lost threads of things, and I forgot who I'd spoken to, and forgot where I was at with things. But it's just a lot of logging stuff, basically.
But you must enjoy that.
Not really.
No?
It sort of means to an end.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was glad when it was all done.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I still got the contract on the burner phone, just in case I need to... If there's anyone that Ken spoke to that I'd forgotten about that doesn't know. I think everyone that Ken spoke to has been informed now.
Okay. Yeah.
But this is the thing, like, people in the local area, when they found out that he wasn't real, they were all upset because they'd thought of him as, like, a local granddad. They're like, oh, we liked Ken. You seemed really supportive and helpful. I was like, it's me, I'm supportive and helpful, I'm your neighbour.
Yeah, but you're not Ken.
You're not Ken, are you? I might have to wander around, like, get some sort of CGI, whatever, and just be Ken for a bit.
Did you enjoy the day?
Loved it. So I did the march in the head, and then I disappeared and just became me, and then turned up to the day, and people were coming up to me going, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I loved that. I was like, oh, I live around the corner. This is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
The man that runs the business district was talking to me, and he said, yeah, they didn't really involve us in this, and they haven't really done any of the kind of normal checks that we would have done for an event in here. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I was thinking, shit. Yeah. Thankfully, they're now on board, and for the second Pride,
Can I give you the number of Ken Roberts? If you've got any
and Ken,
complaints.
I've been speaking to him as Ken. That's a weird thing.
He's ever so sorry.
Yeah, Ken's very, very sorry. So I really enjoyed it. But the thing that was really beautiful about that day, the sort of thing that really caught me off guard, is this lesbian couple had just got married, I think the day before or 2 days before, and their families aren't particularly supportive of them. And they'd said, their biological families, and they'd said that they'd come to Pride because they wanted to be with their family. And I just thought that was like, that really got me going. I was like, oh, yeah. Wow. So you kind of, it's at points like that where you go, oh, these things are really valuable and helpful, having a Pride march. It's not, people actually want to be at them. And I just thought it'd be a joke. I thought it'd be funny, and I get my house price that.
Yeah.
That was the point of it.
But both things can be true, and both things are achieved, I guess.
Yeah.
So what about the night in the pub? When you essentially premiered it to the people that you'd tricked. Yeah. Was there trepidation going into that as well?
I mean, that was terrifying. Yeah.
As a pub that you've obviously been going to for years?
Well, I sort of moved to Kings Heath because that's my favourite pub. Right. I wanted to be in proximity to that pub. Yeah. So I love that venue anyway, and they do amazing. I've seen Self-Esteem, I saw there last year. Like, they have amazing music there. And, to do this show, it wasn't the exact show, but a version of it to the people that the show is about was really surreal, actually. I've never done anything like it in my life. I probably won't ever again. And there were those moments where, and she was in the show, Davina came to the show here, but there was people that had been speaking to Ken who had no idea I was Ken. And the minute I mentioned Ken Roberts, there was this like noise in the room of like, what? And like people sort of going like, like there was all this going on.
So I created a fake person. I called him Ken Roberts. This is what I imagine him to look like. Some of you have been in touch with Ken Roberts.
And then afterwards we all got pissed, and there was just this lovely sense of community, which I think we've always had in Kings Heath, but there was that sense of like, we kind of needed it, post-lockdown and all that. And there's communities like that all around the country, all around the world, but like, I think we're very good in this country of like, build around a pub, essentially, like building a community around. Oh, yeah. And I just felt very part of it, and very like, it was lovely. It was a really lovely evening.
And it's back next year?
Yeah. So we've done one already this year.
Yeah.
This year we did one, and it nearly got rained off because the weather was terrible, and then the gods were kind to us, but the unicorn didn't go up this year because they said it was too dangerous. Right. I'd love it to be floating in the air at some point. So the unicorn didn't happen, but then I got lucky because, Daddy Fryer, the Eurovision entrant? Yeah. He was in Birmingham doing a show that night. I just thought, fuck it, I'll email him. And I just said, I started running this Pride, and it's quite hard to explain the whole thing in one email, but I said, I've started running a Pride, do you want to perform at it?
As you or Ken or?
Now as me.
Slightly, no.
Ken's R.I.P. Ken. And he said, yeah. So we had Daddy Fryer, who's, objectively a very successful musician,
big
play
deal.
at our Pride. So we've sort of slightly created a rod for our own back of having... Will you do a number?
Me?
Yeah.
Love to.
What would your drag name be? I always like Elaine Closure as a drag queen name.
Oh, I could do that. Happy to be Elaine Closure.
Elaine Closure. I think that would fit well for you.
And there's always the thing that people think when they're watching a comedy show. They think, this is so funny. There's this real in any way. But
There's obviously
it
a bit
is.
of embellishment here and there, and obviously I changed his name, but yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And the thing that isn't in the show, because it didn't sort of fit really, is the guy that sold me the house was on Hinge. And one of, you know, on Hinge you have like, tell me an interesting fact about yourself. His interesting fact is, I sold a house to Joe Lycett. Doesn't put in that interesting fact, and I'd overcharged him by 30 grand. Didn't put that there. So I was annoyed about all of that. And so anger is a great motivator for writing. So I was annoyed and I thought, right, I'm going to do something about the house price. And that was the sort of starting point. And I'd always wanted to write a show that had like a bit at the end that kind of comes together. And that was sort of, those were the two elements. I was angry about this thing. I wanted a show that had things that came together. And then I started sort of working out how those strands could come together. What ended up happening was far too complicated, really, for its own good. Nightmare. Can I just say that the way I've been sat, this entire leg is dead now. I might just see.
I think it's a yoga pose you've been doing.
Look at that. That is actually my foot now. I can't.
Can you feel that?
No, I can't feel anything. Oh, yeah.
Felt that.
I'm not sure I'd be able to stand.
Come on, try. Do it.
I actually can't stand.
Get up, please. You have to. Walk.
I can't.
Let me help you, Nana. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Oh, it's coming back now. Oh, it's sort of back now.
You got it? Let's get you into the chair.
This is how the show ends, is it?
Should we get you to the bath?
This is really scary. Oh no, it's back. It's back. Oh no, now it's in that bit. You know when it's everything. Oh shit, the bed.
Come on, sit. Can you get back down?
It's sort of doing its own thing now. That's really weird. You know what I mean? When you like lean on your arm and then there's that bit where it's really painful. That's what's happening.
By the way, this feels like we're about to do a dance number.
That's helping, actually.
Yeah?
That one's fine.
OK. Well, let's skip off into the shed and then should we piss off?
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
You're welcome.
I'm a bit frightened. Oh, these are my tomatoes in the gut. The shed's locked!